All right, down here at the bottom left, a member of the Team Slayers, one of their strongest Terrans, in fact, even though they have so many good Terrans. He is
Slayers Ryung.
Ryung means soul, for those of you guys who missed that last
It
cast.
still doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
I don't know, it kind of looks like soulish kind of body position there.
Or like
Kind
a ghost.
Kind of like a ghost, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's an out-of-body experience intro. All right, his opponent at the top here used to play random.
GuMiho, how are you?
Yeah, he's definitely riding that donkey.
I actually didn't know this before, but the moose or donkey or whatever it is has a mustache.
It does indeed.
And I think that's justifiable. This is his shirt says justifiable. There's this crazy animal, moose, donkey, something, has a mustache. It doesn't have antlers, so I guess it probably is a donkey, but...
Probably would have been completely random too. They would have dragged Gasato out of bed and said, do this. And she's wearing a weird shirt.
Alright, so neither player are actually taking gas, which means both players really want to do a 1-Rax expand. One thing you'll notice right off the bat is that GuMiho is not scouting early, whereas Ryung is. And there's that command center going down. Not spotted, but he saw no gas, so he knows.
Yeah. Both these guys doing exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same thing, even putting it
Even
in
putting
the
it in
exact same spot.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, the only difference, like I said, is that GuMiho did not scout initially. And Ryung actually is going to bring a Marine with his SCV to make sure he can hold that zone like a watchtower. Pretty smart move. Now, GuMiho doesn't really know exactly what's going on, but he feels so comfortable with this build that he's not going to scout because he's ready for anything.
Yeah.
I like that kind of mentality, but in some cases it can get a little bit weird. So,
It can, but oh, we do actually have a... Was that a gas?
yeah, both
was
players
both
taking
guys
both of their
both,
gases. Normally you do see that after you throw the command center down.
Yeah.
You get both gases ASAP.
I think we're going to see a very long-winded game this time. I've just got a spidey sense
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
Well, I've got a wolf sense that you might be right. I think that on this particular map, there are a lot of spawning locations, but even so, I mean, not spawning locations, there's actually only 2 of those. There are a lot of bases that you can take, and they're pretty spread out, but even so, the way that the middle of the map gets controlled, I don't necessarily think we'll have a long game, but it's entirely possible.
Well, if one player manages to break through even slightly, it does snowball into just a disaster situation for the other person. Tank positioning is even going to be even more crucial this time.
You know what's interesting is Ryung is actually getting a reactor on this barracks as he gets that factory. And GuMiho doing the exact same. Now, another thing to note is that GuMiho is making a bunker at the top of this ramp because he doesn't really know what's going on.
Yep.
And it's a smart move, but again, if you scouted, you wouldn't have to make these little steps. You wouldn't have to play scared.
Well, he does have access to one of those towers, or did have access to one of the towers for a little bit at least. Doesn't actually see anything inside of Ryung's base though. And that's going to be a big factor.
An armory is being made for GuMiho. I think we may see a Thor timing attack. Now, we saw these Thor timing attacks are getting a lot more popular. People are starting to research armor for the Thor as well, so it comes with vehicle plating. And I'm not sure what we're going to see exactly, but it does seem that Ryung is going to go Banshees behind this. He is making that starport. He's about to put it on the tech lab. There's a shot of it now.
Yeah, what are we going to see out of it? Oh.
And finally, GuMiho takes control of that watchtower.
We're actually having Cloaked Banshee coming out.
Very, very interesting to get that after a 1-barracks expand. He hasn't really used that command center. I mean, he's been using it, but he hasn't used it. He hasn't lifted it.
He hasn't lifted it yet.
So, going Cloak Banshees behind this is interesting because GuMiho just doesn't really know what's going on. He didn't scout. And that Thor is on the way. It's about a third of the way done. This could get really interesting. Now, he doesn't have a starport. In fact, he's making a second factory. And if you don't have a starport, you don't have a Viking to help deal with that code. It gets very difficult, but the Thor has a pretty good range against air, so the Thor might end up being helpful, assuming that it's at home when this happens.
Yeah, GuMiho does see that tech lab on the starport though, so scans going down by both players revealing on. Oh, I think the scan actually caught a little bit of that Thor as it popped out there.
Maybe
He's moving forward with that. It's going to take him a very long time to get across the map, though.
Is this like a Thor expand? I don't... This is a little strange because he got the Thor very quickly. Now he's made 2 factories. Now he may research Blue Flame. He's making a second Thor here. And we've seen players like the best Foyu, who's on the same team as GuMiho, do builds like this in the past. Yep. The problem is once your opponent kind of figures out what's going on, he just makes a ton of siege tanks and your Thors just aren't as effective anymore.
Yeah, and here comes the Banshee up here into GuMiho's base. He does have his Marines ready, but he don't think he's ready for Cloak.
He actually has 2 scans saved up.
Nice.
Almost a third. And that Banshee is going to get spotted, but she's going to Cloak right away.
Thor's actually doing an amazing amount of damage to those Banshees.
They do. The Banshee in the middle of the map dies. This Banshee, though, will escape for a long time because the Marines just cannot reach her. Missile turret does go up in the mineral line. GuMiho has had that base up for a lot longer than Ryung has. And Hellions popping out here. No Blue Flame Hellion research, though. He's just using plain Hellions. Not sure if that was a good scan. Only got 1 shot off on that Banshee. Banshees are light, though, so they do take a full
there's quite a few SCVs sitting around that bunker, but nothing's actually on its way. Not sure if that's a mistake by Ryung.
No, I think he actually just expects a Thor timing attack. And if you're not ready for that and the Thors come in, you just lose. So I like that choice. But I like the Pre-Igniter Hellions even more because those Pre-Igniter Hellions are going to kill the
all those
SCVs. Exactly. Not only that, but they're going to clean up Marines very quickly. They can also rush down tanks. So really, really interesting unit composition here. You see builds like this sometimes in TVZ. You don't see them in TVT as much. Or I haven't really seen it at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we're also getting level 1 vehicle weapons coming out here from GuMiho.
Yeah, it's actually going to hit right when he attacks here. Blue Flame not done yet. So it's going to be finishing up pretty soon. Right now, as far as workers goes, it's pretty dead even.
He needs to be careful of that siege mode timing, though. If Ryung can get that out, it's going to be much more difficult for him to go through with it. But it looks like he's actually going around the back entrance.
I like this move so much. Well, he was going to go around the back, but decided not to.
I think he scanned and realized.
He realizes there are no tanks in siege mode. I think he's realizing that siege mode just isn't done. There are a lot of SCVs coming to repair here, but Blue Flame is about to finish. Thor's doing so much damage to that bunker. The Hellions falling, though, and it looks like this attack has been completely thwarted.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting that he went with those Blue Flame Hellions going against the Marines instead of just trying to take out all of those SCVs. The Banshee now being more frustrating in GuMiho's natural here. 2 more factories going down as well.
Just being frustrating, not actually that annoying. She was just attacking the refinery. That's kind of frustrating, but you know, it's okay. You're like, stop attacking my refinery. That's kind of annoying.
I thought it was just... I only see one screen. He could have killed a couple when I wasn't looking. I can't be all fancy and move my screen like you.
I know, I'm so fancy. I move my screen so fancily. Alright, so the Thors are coming home. Now, he did lose a lot with that attack. He invested in those Blue Flame Hellions, which didn't really do anything. He should have waited until the Blue Flame was done before attacking, for one. But also, he didn't necessarily need to attack at that moment. Now, what he's going to do with these 4 factories is beyond me. No, seriously though, he's most likely going to try to catch up in siege tank count very quickly, but he could just make Hellions. Hellions are great, they help you control the map, but eventually your opponent's just going to have so many siege tanks that Hellions aren't going to matter, Thors aren't going to matter.
Ryung has mixed in a lot of Marauders into his unit composition as well. That will do very well against that Thor of heavy army that we're seeing right here. It looks like we're going to see a lot more Hellions come through.
And here come some of those Hellions now. Most of the units are out for Ryung, so he's going to lose a lot of SCVs.
He's not controlling his Hellions.
But the bigger issue is the natural, where he's under attack by Marauders, Marines, siege tanks. I don't think he can hold this. He only has Thors, and the Thors aren't even at his natural, and if they were, they would be crushed by these Marauders.
Is forced to lift up that command center as the Thors come down the ramp now. SCV's going to work as well, but these Thors in range of the siege mode. And actually, the siege tank's focusing down the Thors. I like that control here by Ryung. He's going to clean this up, and that's going to be, looks like it's going to be it.
Yeah, I think that may be game. I think we are going to go into a 3rd game between these players. The Thor strategy was interesting and unique, but not enough. GG.
It was very interesting, but I think Nerves got to him a little bit there because there were a couple of points where his control of the Hellions wasn't as strong as it should be.
Yeah, he didn't control the Hellions very well. He went before Blue Flame was done.
He looks angry.
Yeah, he doesn't look pleased with that. He's like, can I talk to you outside for a second? He just gave that kind of motion and they went outside.
I need to stand still while I work out my anger.
Well, Ryung, it's kind of a good feeling when you hold a build like that, like Ryung just did, and you just got to be feeling pretty comfortable knowing, all right, well, the next map is a pretty big map. I can win in a macro game if I want to, and last game I just held off your specific build, and it feels good.
Yeah, it does. It does, especially when a specific build trying to take you out has been thwarted. Nothing better feeling.
Yeah, but the other thing is, though, he lost in kind of a macro game to positioning, and GuMiho just kind of outplayed him in that first game. And if he wins the second game like that, he might be thinking, well, what if he had played normal? Would I have lost that game? You know, maybe I only won because he went for that timing attack and I held it. So maybe he's thinking also, how do I want to prepare for this third game?
Yeah.
That's probably why GuMiho's talking to Choya right now. They're probably trying to figure out exactly what they want to do. Do we want to do the same style or not?
It does get straight into your head when something like that happens, and it's just experience for that to happen over and over again to you, so you know how to deal with it when it comes through. And
Exactly.
a lot of players deal with it differently. Some just get angry. And
Yeah,
go for it
some
all
do get
in.
really frustrated.
Some get just upset and they just don't play as well as they would, and some just go, no, I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah,
and play their
exactly.
best.
And he probably went up to Choya and said, you know, I thought my blue flame was done, but it wasn't. Or I thought that I was going to hit before his SCVs got over there, and I just didn't. And
well, with timing attacks like that, even the slightest little things can change.
the slightest little things can change.
And it completely
so much.
swings the tide of battle. So that's why they call timing attacks.
That's how it goes, man. But the map, we're loading it up now. It's Ryung versus GuMiho. And for those of you guys who just tuned in, who haven't been watching the entire time, like, it's Ryung versus GuMiho, you're like, obviously. So this is game 3. This is very important for both of these guys. Ryung, he's got a lot more, I guess you could say, credibility. A lot of people think he's really good because of his results in other leagues. Whereas GuMiho is trying to prove himself now. He did well in the team league. He qualified, and that in itself is a pretty huge achievement. But he really wants this, and he's been trying for a long time, and this is his chance to shine. So very important for both of these guys. Neither of them want to go through the qualifiers again. Nobody wants to go through that.
And this is the last match of the night.
Last match of the night, guys. Big deal. It's a big deal. All right, the countdown is done. The map is loading. We're going to jump into it eventually.
Eventually.
I'm like getting all hyped up, and I'm just like, eventually. We will be getting into it eventually. You can follow me at FXO Wolf. You can follow him at FXO Unstable. Follow GomTV at GomTV. Follow John the Translator at JUNKKA83. Who else can we mention? Tasteless and Artosis. Call me Tasteless or Artosis.
I don't think there's anyone else at the moment. Not that you can think of off the top of your head?
Nope.
No? All right.